Hey, let's run away together.
My daughter pleaded with me, her eyes on the verge of tears. Curious about what was going on, I asked her, and she handed me a stuffed animal with a recording function.
Dad said he doesn't need mom or me. He likes a different lady.
My tearful daughter had recorded my husband's voice on the stuffed animal. Faced with the horrifying revelation, I made up my mind to escape.
Wait! I won't allow you to leave like that.
My disabled mother-in-law stopped us with a fierce expression. My name is Willow, a 33-year-old stay-at-home mom. I live with my husband Nolan, who is 2 years older than me, our 5-year-old daughter Alice, and Nolan's mother. Initially, after marriage, I worked as an office clerk in the same company as Nolan. However, I resigned when I became pregnant. Since then, I've been a full-time homemaker. Nolan also quit his job 6 months ago. I knew for a year that he was discussing starting a business with an old friend. He had been preparing while still working at his previous job. When everything was ready for the business venture, we decided to move to Nolan's hometown, changing both our work and house. That's when we began living with my mother-in-law, about 6 months ago. My father-in-law had already passed away, and my mother-in-law, who has mobility issues and mild cognitive impairment, lives alone with the help of caregivers. However, due to the spacious property at the family home, we renovated it to accommodate all of us.
I'm busy, you know. Take care of mom for me.
Nolan's joint business venture with a friend was in the wholesale industry. He was always busy, frequently traveling for procurement. As a result, household chores, childcare, and even caring for my mother-in-law became my responsibility. Although my mother-in-law can manage to move around independently with the help of a cane or walker, complex household tasks and long-distance outings require assistance. Since then, my days have been filled with the back and forth between my own room and my mother-in-law's, taking care of both housework and her needs after dropping Alice off at kindergarten. Hello. I've come to prepare dinner. With a smile, I greeted my perpetually stern-faced mother-in-law. Since we started living together, I had never seen her smile. Yet, she hadn't subjected me to the kind of mistreatment that's often associated with in-laws. It wasn't that she disliked me, rather, her frustration stemmed from her loss of physical independence. Although she didn't express gratitude with a smile, she always ate the meals I prepared neatly and never interfered with household chores. When we first met before my marriage, she was a cheerful and kind mother-in-law. I realized that losing physical freedom could be incredibly stressful for anyone. I believed my mother-in-law was suffering too, so I dedicated myself to caring for her. One day, while cleaning her room, she approached me from behind.
Willow, take this.
She handed me a large diamond ring. Oh. What's this?
It's the ring my mother-in-law gave me when I got married.
What? Can I really accept something so precious?
Precious or not, it's dangerous to step on. It has no value just sitting around, and it's in the way. You're young, you'll find a use for it.
As usual, she said this with a stern expression and promptly returned to her room. Did she bring it for me? Seeing the ring warmed my heart. That night, I showed the ring to Nolan and Alice, our 5-year-old daughter. Alice, who had recently taken an interest in fashion, looked envious when she saw the large diamond ring.
Wow! Mom had such a diamond!
Indeed. We didn't notice because she lives so modestly.
When Dad passed away, there was quite an inheritance, but there's no record of her spending a cent. If she won't use it, maybe I should ask her to give it to me.
Come on, let's not be greedy. I scolded him, and Nolan laughed it off as a joke. Later, I carefully stored the ring as a cherished treasure. Despite the daily busyness and challenges, I found fulfillment in our daily life. Nolan's business seemed to be on track, and he traveled frequently, not only returning late at night but also going on more business trips. Then one night, when everyone was asleep, Alice suddenly woke me up.
Mom, wake up.
Alice? What's wrong? Alice shook me urgently, her face filled with an inexplicable fear. Had she had a bad dream? I moved closer to hug her, but she had something else to say.
We need to escape from Dad right now. Otherwise, both you and I might disappear.
Huh? Disappear? Confused, I tilted my head as Alice's words puzzled me. Maybe you dreamed it. Poor Alice, let's sleep together.
No. We have to run away. It's true.
Frustrated that I didn't understand, Alice half cried as she handed me her favorite stuffed animal. It was a recent Christmas gift with a recording function that allowed her to record her own voice. Curious, I listened to the recording. To my shock, it was Nolan's voice making a phone call. The content left me wide-eyed and speechless. Get rid of my mother for the insurance money, and make my wife and Alice disappear. I want to start over with you. The succession of horrifying statements made me feel nauseous.
Mom, you know what? I've been keeping a secret for a long time. Dad was getting along with a different woman. I saw it the other day.
Alice began to tell me a shocking story in a sobbing voice. The other day, Alice went to the aquarium on a field trip from her kindergarten. There, she witnessed Nolan's affair. Nolan, who had no interest in Alice at all, had chosen the aquarium as his date spot with his lover, which was the same place Alice was going on a field trip.
I followed Dad. And then, he told that lady that he loved her the most.
Alice started crying again as she remembered.
Dad only loves her. Doesn't he love Mom and me anymore?
Alice. I was furious at Nolan, who had made Alice so sad. But now was not the time to wake him up and confront him. The evidence was weak, and more importantly, I was worried about the content of the recording. Grandma's insurance money? Make me and Alice disappear? No way. I hurriedly packed my bags. Fortunately, Nolan's bedroom was at the back of the second floor, so it was okay to make a little noise. I didn't understand the meaning of the recorded voice clearly, but I felt it was dangerous by intuition. I finally finished packing and headed to the front door with Alice. But there was my mother-in-law in the way. She was desperately keeping her balance with a cane, and had a terrible look on her face with ragged breathing.
Wait! I won't let you run away like that.
Do you know something? I looked at Alice, and she shook her head. Alice hadn't told her mother-in-law. Well,
it's winter now.
I won't let you take Alice out in such cold weather in that outfit.
She handed me some warm clothes. It was winter. I was so desperate to pack and run away that I didn't even think about giving Alice proper protection from the cold. I have something to talk to you about, Nolan. I decided to tell my mother-in-law about Nolan. I thought she was on our side.
I know. He's infatuated with another woman and plotting something terrible. He thinks I'm a senile old woman and looks down on me. But I'm Nolan's mother. I see through everything.
She looked a little sad. Did she know that her son was after her insurance money? Let's run away together. I walked up to my mother-in-law. I couldn't leave her in a place where there was someone who would target her own mother's insurance money. But she quietly shook her head.
I'll only slow you down if I go with you, so I'll pass. Besides, Nolan is my son. I'm responsible for raising such an idiot. I'm going to stick with him until the end.
What? What if something happens to you?
In that case, use all of my inheritance for Alice.
She handed me an envelope with a sad face. There were several $100s inside.
This is for your living expenses for a while. Take it and get out of here. Thanks for everything.
But... I tried to persuade her several times, but she wouldn't budge. I couldn't spend too much time, or Nolan would notice. Maybe I should leave her behind for today. That's what I was thinking, when I saw a faint smoke coming out of a room on the first floor. That was my mother-in-law's bedroom. I panicked and grabbed a fire extinguisher from the kitchen, and ran into the room. But the fire spread too fast, and one fire extinguisher wasn't enough. Alice, can you run? I didn't give her a choice and forcefully carried my mother-in-law on my back.
Hey, what are you doing? You'll be too late to escape if you carry an old cripple like me. Leave me behind. Hurry! Leave me behind.
Shut up! Just be quiet! I shouted and pulled Alice's hand, desperately heading for the front door. And somehow, I managed to open the door and escape outside. Almost at the same time, an ambulance and a fire truck arrived. It seemed that a neighbor who noticed something wrong had called them.
Nolan, my son is still inside.
Maybe even if her son was after her insurance money, she would instinctively try to save him as a mother. She staggered towards the fire, but fell after a few steps. It's okay. Let's leave it to the firefighters. The three of us were taken to the hospital by the paramedics who arrived. The three of us who quickly sensed the danger were almost unharmed. On the other hand, Nolan, who was surrounded by fire without noticing until the last minute, was rescued by the firefighters, but suffered severe burns all over his body. Fortunately, his life was saved. After calming down, I took Alice and my mother-in-law to Nolan's hospital room to talk. As soon as he saw me, Nolan glared at me and cursed loudly.
Hey, you heartless woman! Why didn't you save me?
I was too busy escaping with Alice and your mother.
Liar! You could have done something for me. You tried to kill me on purpose, didn't you? You're a scary woman.
Nolan kept screaming without listening to anyone. Suddenly, my mother-in-law, who had been listening behind me, walked up to Nolan and slapped him on the spot.
Stop it, you ungrateful son! You put not only me, but also Willow and Alice in danger. I won't forgive you.
What are you talking about?
Nolan pretended to be clueless. I told him that I knew everything about his affair.
I don't get it. Show me the proof.
Proof? The proof is at the police station right now. As soon as I said that, several police officers appeared in Nolan's hospital room. That's right, I had submitted the recording that Alice made to the police as soon as I finished the doctor's examination. The police officers who were investigating the fire suspected that it was intentionally set, and they seized the recording as evidence.
Nolan, we have a question about the fire that occurred at your house. We found traces of tampering with the outlet that was connected to the humidifier. Do you have any idea what that's about?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, that's fine. The forensics team is thoroughly examining the scene right now, so I'm sure the truth will come out soon. You just focus on your treatment, and we'll talk later.
The police officers smirked and left the room, leaving Nolan pale and frozen. A few days later, Nolan was discharged from the hospital and taken to the police station for questioning. The investigation continued, and Nolan's crime was confirmed. The truth behind the fire was this. Nolan, who was going on a business trip the next day, had rigged the outlet that was connected to the humidifier to start a fire while he was away. I liked the humidifier and turned it on every day during the day. On the other hand, the mother-in-law didn't touch it at all because it was too much trouble to plug and unplug it. Nolan expected that I would turn on the humidifier after he left for his trip, and that's when the fire would start. But the mother-in-law, who suspected his son's actions, noticed that he had tampered with the area around the humidifier, and turned it on while she was searching around by herself. That's why the fire started sooner than Nolan expected. Nolan was arrested for arson and attempted murder. There, I learned a new fact. Apparently, Nolan had been embezzling money from his company to lavish on his mistress. His co-founder friend was furious and determined to get back the money he had squandered. Even after Nolan was released, he would be in debt hell. After that, I divorced Nolan. Since the house had burned down, I found a new home with Alice and my mother-in-law. I had intended to live with my mother-in-law too. But she didn't want to be a burden to me, who was going to be a single mother, and she asked to move into a facility. As Nolan had expected, my mother-in-law had never used her late husband's inheritance, and she had a considerable fortune. After my mother-in-law passed away, Nolan, her only son, was supposed to inherit everything. But Nolan, who had committed a crime, became disqualified from inheriting, and lost his right to inheritance. On the night before she moved to the facility, my mother-in-law made a will that gave all her property to me and Alice.
I'm sorry, I can only apologize in this way.
My mother-in-law cried. Oh! Please smile. I said cheerfully. Alice and I love your smile. If you want to apologize, please smile a lot.
Okay.
She wiped her tears and showed me a smile. After that, my mother-in-law moved into the care facility. She looked happy surrounded by kind staff. Alice and I visit her once a month. I found a job and regained a place where I could feel safe. Today, I smile and start tomorrow.
How did you like this story? Please subscribe to my channel. See you in the next video.